Okay, I got my technical support on the side over here helping me out. So let me make sure that I share my screen correctly. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Glad you made it in. There's also links in the comments. We'll put them in there again where you can watch, or if you have some family and friends who are watching, we are full in the studio, which is awesome. So now anyone else, you have to go to the YouTube or the Facebook, but it's streaming in multiple places. You can even go to my Facebook or YouTube, Felicia Simone, or you can go to our sponsor, Infinite Perspectives, as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play our scavenger hunt video. So sit tight, take a listen, have your phone out so that you can take a picture at the end of the HBCUs that are a part of the scavenger hunt answers. Okay. Okay, here we go.
So just share that one.
Entire screen. Okay, here we go, y'all.
Perfect. We have live. That's all that matters. You're
live. Welcome to the 2026 HBCU Scavenger Hunt. Every clue leads to an HBCU. Presented by All Generations Technology, AGT. Hi, my name is Richard. I am your AI assistant. I will read the scavenger hunt clues to you to help you win great prizes. Just follow along with me and guess the right answer. Listen carefully. Every scavenger hunt clue has a theme and a caption. Remember, every answer is an HBCU.
Dude, that's my girl. Come on, give me 5. Yeah, she will.
Theme number 1. Where legacy was first whispered. Before freedom rang loud, I taught in quiet rooms. Before degrees were printed, I sharpened minds in resistance. I am the first of my kind, born before emancipation's dawn. My roots run deep in Pennsylvania soil. Find me, and you'll unlock the path forward. Now that you have figured out the correct answer, text it to 404500780. Email your correct answer to fanhbcudebate@gmail.com. Again, that email is spelled FHANHBCUDEBATE@gmail.com. Now check out the list of HBCUs on the next slides. I recommend that you take a picture and hold on to it for the next clues.
Okay, so I hope you were able to get that clue. Let me stop sharing here. And please don't blurt out the answer either. Where's my stop sharing screen? There. Thanks. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm back. Had to figure out where my stop was. So hopefully, hopefully everyone was able to see the scavenger hunt information, but it's also on Facebook and YouTube. So if you have yet to register to play, please do so. All you have to do is register by texting HBCU scavenger hunt to 404-500-7801. Again, that's 404-500-7801. Or you can also email your registration and play requests to FHAN HBCU debate at gmail.com. And that's FHAN, FHAN, HBCU debate at gmail.com. Okay. Lots of fun prizes. So hopefully everyone will take part. All right. And let's see, we're moving on. So let's see. Oh, a couple of things that we need to do. Some housekeeping, if you hadn't already seen that slide. We need to make sure that all devices are turned off. Please keep them silent through the event. Please remain muted to respect the designated run of show and speaking parts. And finally, be present. We would love to see your face as was required inside of the studio. We will have opportunities for you to contribute to the mission of the policy resolution. So we will give you the code for the app that you will see soon, where you also have the ability to score the presentation when prompted. All right, so we hope that you enjoy the event, and we're going to get started with our first thing here. All right, here we go. Two things. We actually have one hiccup, but it's not a bad thing. Two of our teams seem to be having some difficulties. So we're working through those, but right now we're going to get started with our team who is present from the First Institute for Colored Youth, Cheney University, and we'll get to them in a moment. But I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that right now the team that is in the building is Cheney University. And I'm sure that they are well prepared because they have been busy all week. All right. So now a couple of things. We have our judges who are anonymous, but they score and they have the largest amount of weight on Mentimeter. And then we have an opposing team option where teams can score each other. And then finally, we have the audience option, which is you. You'll see a code that will allow you to check in at menti.com, MENTI.com. If you want to put that up now, you can. And then we'll give you the code that you need so that you'll be able to score the teams. Okay, so just sit tight for right now. You don't need to have that in front of you right now, but we will get to that shortly. Okay. We did have some registered virtual audience check-in, so I am going to check and make sure that we have not missed anyone, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chioma while I'm taking care of that. All right, I'm back. I think Chioma might have had some technical oh, nope, there she is. She's back. Hi, can you hear us okay, Chioma? Okay, she's frozen. All right, I will go ahead and continue. Let's see, no problem. So we're going to go ahead and continue. We've completed our virtual audience check-ins, and now we are going to do our team introductions. Hold on just one moment.
Good afternoon, everyone, from wherever you are tuning in, and welcome to the Legacy to Leverage HBCU Policy Resolution Debate Series 1. My name is Stephen Anderson, and I'm a proud 1976 graduate of Cheney University. This is an institution with a rich legacy.
Let me try again. Hold on 1 second. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up that you can hear okay. All right. Okay. That's not working. No problem. We'll figure out what's wrong with it. And we're going to go ahead and just pull up our team members. Let me stop sharing. We're going to pull up our teammates because we actually pre-recorded their introductions, but technology is technology sometimes. I'm grateful that I have our tech people, our sponsors here with me to help me through. I'm going to bring Chioma back to the stage before we pull our team Cheney in. Chioma, can you hear okay? Yeah, definitely some tech issues going on there. So let's go ahead. Look, we're prepared. We know how to deal with these things when they happen, and it's no problem at all. All right, I'm going to pull up our Cheney team. Let's see here. Hi, Andre. Good to see you. Hello, Christian. Very good to see you, Chris. And hello, Dr. Simmons. Very good to see you. If you don't mind, I know that I already recorded you and we had a little bit of a glitch. So if you do not mind introducing yourselves, let's start with why we created this debate. We're going to center it from a student perspective first. So, Chris, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Christian Watts. I am a current freshman, rising sophomore at the French HBCU, aka Cheney University.
Thank you, Chris. Good to see you, freshman debating. Okay, how you like that? And now let's go to our alumni representative. Oh no, let me back up. Respect. Let me go to our faculty representative, and equally, if not more important, stakeholder, and that's Dr. Simmons. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, my name is Dr. Matthew Simmons. I am a Tougaloo College graduate, class of, well, it says 06, but I graduated 08. I am an adjunct professor in the Social Behavior Science Department of Cheney University, and I've been working there for over 5+ years. I teach Africana Studies, political science, and also history.
Great to hear from you again, Dr. Simmons. And last but certainly not least, I'll introduce our alum, Andre Williams.
Yes, greetings, everyone. My name is Andre Williams, class of 2006, communications major from Cheney University, the nation's oldest HBCU. As someone who started at the nation's oldest HBCU, I know a lot and witnessed a lot and was fortunate enough to experience a lot of illustrious history. So to be able to see Cheney's effects, not just on the areas that I currently serve alongside my first ever co-ed siblinghood, Peace Incorporated, the Delaware Valley, to Philadelphia, for instance. We also are able to see the Cheney lasting legacy on Black academia and how much it's permeated throughout the entire world. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to have this type of symposium to, discuss more ideas in terms of higher Black academia. But thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Good to see you, Dre. Thank you so much for your commitment and participation. Now, before we get into the presentation, I'm going to try to bring my co-host back on stage. Yeah, something's that. Chioma, even your silhouette of your room is not loading for some strange reason. I'm not sure if it's the difference between being hardwired in versus on Wi-Fi with the amount of people who are in here, but we'll make it work. I will troubleshoot with Chioma during the presentation. I want to make sure that I express one more time that our scavenger hunt, our HBCU scavenger hunt is underway. So if you have not registered to play, don't forget to text HBCU scavenger hunt to 404-500-7801, or you can email us at fanhbcudebate@gmail.com. And again, that's spelled FHAN, FHAN, stands for First HBCU Action Network, FHAN, HBCU debate@gmail.com. I believe that might be on the ticker. Okay, it's on the ticker as well. And now Chioma's back. Chioma, can you hear me? Nope. Okay. Okay, so how about we're going to go ahead and move right along. And again, I am excited and thrilled to introduce the team from Cheney University of Pennsylvania, Mr. Chris Watts, Dr. Matthew Simmons, and Andre Williams. If you would start with your opening and let everybody know which resolution that you chose, and I'll mute.
All right, so as a team, we chose resolution 2.
Hey there, if you would start with your resolution and then your opening statement, and then you guys can go ahead and get started. I'm going to mute myself and then move myself off the stage so that it will just have you three as presenters.
You.
Seem to be having a bit
There
of
it is.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, there it is. All right. All right, this resolution begins with a simple but urgent truth. HBCUs are not legacy institutions searching for relevance. They are relevancy institutions that the nation has failed to scale. So the main part is who leads the education, who controls the narrative, and who defines Black identity in an era of the digital age in historical disorientation. And if we are serious about changing policies for the better and not just for civilism, we must begin where the blueprint began. Cheney University, the first HBCU.
Okay, so in terms of our policy, why Cheney University matters, not just historically. See, Cheney was founded initially as a teacher's college, but it wasn't first just founded as a teacher's college. It was the foundation of Black education throughout the United States. Cheney was a place that taught us both in terms of leadership, in terms of civic translation, and for the most part, we built folks who benefited the working class and also helped to uplift the working class as opposed to being elites detached from the community. So from the beginning, Cheney managed to link intellectual formation, moral seriousness, community return. And Cheney was never designed to produce escape from Black communities. It was rather designed to produce return. Cheney also has many bridges throughout the, throughout the HBCU legacy, including, as our professor can attest to, the bridge to Tougaloo. Tougaloo would later embody this same logic during the civil rights movement through campuses as organizing spaces and educations as preparation for the struggle. So it shows that Cheney isn't an anomaly to the Black educational leadership, it's the model.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that quick history lesson for those who did not know. And I wanted to make sure that we tried one more time to get our co-host up here. We are full in this room, so I have added a link in the chat. If you have friends and family who are trying to get in, you can let them know that we're full, but that you can then you can give them that link to either YouTube or Facebook, and they can watch from there. They can always go back and watch the recording as well. Okay. Dr. Simmons, were you next? I'm going to put myself down. Okay, no problem. Hey, this is the first time. So let me be very, very clear that I am so proud of what we have been able to pull together and all of what's happened since we even started this initiative in terms of networking with other HBCUs so that we can reconnect, networking with our own alum from near and far. We've been sharing yearbooks, and we've been doing all types of stuff. Super excited that graduation is next week, and I'll be there for the graduation so I can meet some of these 50-year anniversary 1976 graduates. So we are ecstatic about what we've done, and we know that we're going to do it again, especially with the folks who we have now networked with. So no shade, don't worry, we're going to get it together, and I'm going to edit this down that it looks pretty imperfect anyway. I'm muting.
So as we continue on with our conversation, right, about the importance of not just Cheney but HBCUs as well, I wanted want us to center our conversation in the sense that, number one, we are not looking at ourselves as just teaching curriculum, right? We teach more than just coursework. We teach racial consciousness, right? To center ourselves within ourselves. President Hill made a very distinct push in order to not just to teach minds in sense of like being workers for the state, but also have individuals who are racially conscious, also push racial consciousness, right? And also leadership under constraint. HBCUs have always been under attack in the sense of being have to make $1 out of 15 cents. We also had to make sure that we pulled a collective leadership in order to maintain ourselves in the face of not just white supremacy, but also individuals who do not see our vision as revolutionary, right? So what President Hill and others like Cato did before him, right, is that they had a responsibility to collective history. They centered themselves not just in the sense of blackness in Philadelphia, but they made sure that they was able to collectively put themselves in other institutions, right? I'm from Tougaloo College, and knowing that we were created by the AME, the Methodist Association, but also we had to look at in the sense of we had white folks try to dictate to us what we're supposed to do. And the collective consciousness, the racial consciousness that Cheney provided for us as a blueprint helped us to fight back against the racist history and the racist terrorism that we experienced in Mississippi, right? So that second curriculum, right, to know ourselves for ourselves in order to be ourselves, was the reason why HBCUs always shape movements and not just majors, right? Not just teaching, working with our hands, but shaping the minds, and not just making sure that individuals will be better workers, but make sure that they are change agents for not just society, but also the world, right? The second curriculum is also policy relevant, right? It produces teachers, organizers, cultural stewards, right? Democracy builders, agitators, activists, right? HBCUs have always been the bedrock for individuals and individuals in our community, but also for those who came into our communities, whether they be Black, white, Latino, Hispanic, Asian. They always were able to find themselves within our curriculum and also go back to their communities in order to create society in a better way. Also, we had to identify the failure, right? And all the attacks that we've had upon not just Cheney, but also every HBCU is that we always had to fight against the narrative theft, right? Our history is being told without our HBCUs being present, right, or being centered, right? We always try to talk about Cato without trying to make sure that he's connected to Cheney's history and Cheney activism, right? Also, we try to judge HBCUs by the PWI standards, by monetary connectivity and also vitality, but also trying to decenter it from communal and cultural foundation and activism, right? We have made our way out of no way for as long as we could remember, right? We have looked at Professor Hill, President Hill. We looked at other individuals within the Cheney consciousness, and even we looked at across the HBCU landscape, whether it be Jackson State, Tougaloo, Morehouse. In all our histories, we know that we've had to make a way out of no way, right? And we had to be judged by the matrix of whiteness, but we still was able to operate from the matrix of ourselves, right? Also, we have to make sure that we can circulate our knowledge within our control, right? As my colleagues will say later on, the best communication is always through word of mouth, through oral traditions, right? And through the oral traditions, and as we transmit that to the World Wide Web, and also to other platforms that will circulate our curriculum and how we can do that on a larger scale, anchors us into the Black experience. We have to bring ourselves without from a Sankofic, from going back to the past to bring us to the future, in order to make sure that our curriculum, our ways of knowing, how we fight back, has always been centered into the collective consciousness of our history and of our activism. The danger today is not that HBCUs will disappear. We will always be present. And we must preserve it while so that way our purpose is not to be stripped. And finally, we might have the resolution of Cheney as a global HBCU. Now, we've seen like Southern University, they have couched their curriculum online, right? And they have had different conversations and also different collaborations with other HBCU, but it's not worldwide, right? Cheney's not in that HBCU conversation. So we must be an anchor institution, right? You cannot talk about HBCU experience, the collective conversation about American history, and even have a conversation about policy without centering Cheney as central to that conversation. It's not hierarchical in nature, right? It is not trying to extract or to center only Cheney history. This is an HBCU experience. Tougaloo College, Jackson State, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta will not be here without Cheney, even Lincoln, right? And it's not just a branding conversation, but this is a communal and collective conversation, right? So what we mean by make sure we have a global HBCU institution that's online, right? We must be able to curriculum share, right? We have scholars from not just our own institution, but also institutions like other HBCUs that we can curriculum share, right? Share the collective histories of ourselves, right? The sociological studies, the educational studies, right? Also, we must be able to faculty must collaborate, and also with alumni, right? We come from these various places, and some of us do not know the full history, right? And knowing that alumni is there to support us in a myriad of different ways, make sure that we tell the history fully, right? We cannot talk about Cheney without activism. We cannot talk about Cheney without the collective consciousness of our people, right? And we also must be in a way that we have maroonage, right? Our archives must be able to move along with us. We must be able to tell our own stories, right? And we cannot just be relegated to the classroom. The world is our classroom. So in order for us to make sure that we can retrieve the lessons of today, of yesteryears into tomorrow, we must be sure that we must be able to tap into the individuals and the histories of today and tomorrow by way of oral traditions and also by digital archives, right? And finally, we must have make sure that our classrooms are also global, right? We talk about Kwame Nkrumah in terms of like Lincoln University, right? He came to HBCUs to learn about Pan-Africanism, right? To learn about Black nationalism, right? He got the way that he was able to go back to the motherland and to create political achievements that was not known to the world beforehand because he went to an HBCU, right? Cheney does not replace other HBCUs. It connects it because we are the foundation for it, right? And I believe we need to be African-centered. We need to be to have truth to power in our curriculum. We need to be able to continue to be a teacher to prepare our teachers and our leaders tomorrow, not just on a digital scale, right, but on the economic scale, on a physical scale, right? Tougaloo College, for example, in terms of like just with Cheney, right, it influenced us to make sure that we was able to teach our teachers and our attorneys, right, and our doctors, right, and finally making sure that we have a global Black studies, which we have in our mission statement, right, that is authored by HBCUs, that comes from the HBCU experience. We have our narratives, we have our media, we have our ways of life that can be able to tell our own stories and not being told by somebody else through their own lens. And we must not be able to outsource our histories to other platforms. We could not be able to be erased. And because Cheney University has fought tooth and nail to maintain its sovereignty, to maintain its existence, it made sure that it could not be outsourced to other platforms. And finally, we must make sure that we have that global influence, right? That cultural exchange with other cultures, whether it be Zulu, whether it be Xhosa, right? Whether it be the Chinese, the Indian, right? Maybe it be white America. Our history is also American history and also global history. And without us, the globe does not move. So also we must make sure that we have our policies that go beyond U.S. borders. We must make connections to other countries and other entities. Our education is not going to be online as convenience. It is online education as sovereignty.
And in lieu of that educational sovereignty, by establishing our sovereignty as the premier Black academia, we get to close the inevitability gap that they try to portray in many respects to the economics of academia. Far too often, we've heard through various institutions about the lack of funding or the lack of resources. But in the case of Cheney, it's uniquely positioned to actually close that gap by showing the history of our past. If you look at the history of the Institute of Colored Youth, we began the initial experiment of the Black experience, and this was at a time where teaching illegally was already a bit of a risk. So for us to be able to start that, train teachers who would then go on and matriculate other schools, thanks to principals like, for instance, Miss Fannie Jackson Coppin, who eventually would also take her tenure from the Institute of Colored Youth, go on to various other places throughout her educational journey, and also have a university named after her. The thing is, with Cheney University's unique traditional roots, it actually models a return to education as opposed to an escape from it. See, a lot of times when you look at the roots of how Cheney's structure was set up, a lot of the things that the students were learning in the African Institute and Institute of Colored Youth days were a necessity to basically making sure the commerce of the United States was bolstered. If it wasn't for us to learn textiles, agriculture, basic trades, skill sets, varying skill sets at that, as well as the various permeating schools of Black thought between Booker T. Washington visiting campus and W.B. Du Bois visiting campus, and how that was able to permeate through our Institute of Colored Youth and show the various facets of Black academia. If Cheney carried the Black education through slavery, Reconstruction, segregation, even the civil rights era, then it can certainly anchor it through the digital age.
Wow. That was amazing. My hope is that everyone was listening and listening attentively to hear what in this very short amount of time, some of our history, but also a resolution to ensure that our history and our future remain. That was amazing. I would love to, before we start the scoring, see if there is any particular questions that our audience members may have just around your research. First of all, kudos. I'm not a judge, so I can say kudos to both all three of you. That was wonderful. I think we may have lost Chris briefly, but we'll try to get him back in. And let's see. Oh, Chioma is back. Let's see if she's. I think I heard you just unmute your mic. Is that accurate?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm going to mute.
Yes.
I'm gonna mute and allow you to say your parts that you couldn't.
No, that's absolutely fine. We always say that we love technology when it works, and then when it doesn't, which is anytime it likes, then we begin to see how we need to fall back into life before technology. But thank you so much. And we're looking forward to the questions. Please ask those questions. They really help, and also help Dr. Simmons and Andre in the perspectives that they bring today to us as we look forward to making a big, broad, and robust resolution into how HBCUs are available for the next generation of greatness that's going to be around us. I have one question here, and that question, and I'm just going to leave it because I think that when I hear both of you speak big and deep from different perspectives, which I love because it brings different things to the table that's important. And I'd like to start with you, Andre, if I will. What does the HBCU legacy represent, you think, in today's world? I mean, I was thinking about it from the context of this morning. There is a university out in California called Anna Maria, and it's shutting down for the last time because it's deep in debt, apparently $18 million, and with only $1.5 million in endowment. So bearing that in mind, what do you think that the HBCU legacy represents today, and what will it represent tomorrow?
Well, as the ancestors would say, the seeds of the future are buried in the past. And I say that because if you look at the unique traditions of the Institute of Colored Youth, especially teaching at a time where teaching was considered illegal. Now imagine in this era where, like you were saying with the current school in California, teaching is now becoming unaffordable. And oftentimes when you see the argument as to why it's unaffordable, there's arguments for it, rising costs, but they never really get to show you the line item. If it's one thing that we've learned from the unique traditions of ICY is certain costs can be mitigated if you utilize time. And the beauty of having a unique HBCU, much like the one that started, the only HBCU that started in Philadelphia, the birthplace of liberty, you learn a lot about starting with a small family in a big city. If anyone who's a native of Philadelphia can attest to the fact that even though Philly is a relatively large city, there are a lot of various families and traditions and generations who know each other and have intermingled and have collaborated and have made something out of nothing often, and every time that they were called upon to do so. So when you talk about the HBCU legacy, whether we're talking the current student body that learn from the various administration who take their time and take their passion and know about Black academia and they're yearning for the experience and to carry on that legacy, and then you add into that the ecosystem of your alumni, your former staff, your matriculates. There are various folks, even the surrounding neighborhood, who may remember growing up around the nation's oldest HBCUs. And I say that plural in the sense of, as Cheney being the blueprint, we can also set that same blueprint for all of the HBCUs that are in the ecosystem. If we show that the legacy of an HBCU is that of a family legacy, that where even when they tell you it costs too much, you can watch like you saw the principals in the neighborhood when you were growing up, where The neighbor will go bring a loaf of bread. The other neighbor will bring some milk. And next thing you know, everybody has breakfast. All because you manage to have eggs and nothing else at the moment. That's where you get to mitigate the cost effects that a lot of these current situations are going through, mainly because the powers that be and the administrations and the structural systems that basically fund these universities are uniquely beholden to throwing money at the problem as opposed to incorporating the community to find a solution. And that's where the HBCU legacy means the most. It shows just how much a community by necessity can also become a community that creates the strongest of impacts. And in some cases, for less the price.
But hey, it's always all about the money, right? I'm gonna come to you, Dr. Simmons, and I want you to come from the angle as a current faculty. What you hope, because I hope that as you are pouring into our young people today, I hope that as much as we know that it's really rough having to do this every day and looking at your bank account and the math don't be mathing. Um, what do you say is the HBCU legacy? What will it represent in days and in years to come for these young people that you daily have to work with?
I'm reminded
Are you
every
muted,
day.
Dr.
Y'all
Simmons?
muted? You hear me? You hear me now? You hear me? Okay, want to make sure. I'm reminded that in every instance of the HBCU legacy and experiences that we have been on the forefront of activism and also uplift in our communities, right? And like if you look at a Cato, right, he was gunned down, right, because he was on the forefront of Philadelphia movements, right, especially when it talks about voting, right, and he was killed for that, right, but his legacy still moved on and lived on through his students, right, and I will see that, like for example, the teaching legacy that Cheney created was also passed down to like Russ College, Tougaloo College, Morehouse, right? Without the HBCU experience, we will not have the individuals and the leaders and the fighters. Not saying that we wouldn't have them, right? But they will be uniquely positioned in order to fight the fight that we have going on today. Like the things that we're going through right now is not unique, right? What's the Whitney Houston conversation, right? The song saying different paths, different casts, right? We have the same thing that we've been fighting through on every generation, right? It's just that it has different names, right, and different textures and different contexts, right? But it's still the same thing that we're going through. And so being able to pour into our students, making sure that they know their histories, first and foremost, because if we don't know our history, then we're doomed to repeat it. But also, if we don't know our histories, then we will be oblivious to the fact that we've been going through this fight before, that we've had our victories, that we've had our shortcomings, that we need to learn the lessons of the past, right? For example, knowing that we had to strategize in places that were always under danger when we're talking about public like institutions, and then we had to get private institutions that were HBCUs in order for us to escape to like a Tougaloo College in order for us to be able to fight back against the powers that be, right? And also knowing that dissemination of knowledge was greatly important and greatly influential in teaching the leaders, not just here in America, but also in the Caribbean, right? Also on the continent, also in the globe, right? The movement in various marginalized communities have been influenced and inspired and fought alongside by people from HBCUs. We've always been there. And if you take us out of the equation, then you take out a fundamental part of not just struggle and activism, but also the possibilities of what America and also the world could be, right? A communal, egalitarian society that looks after one another, that makes sure that if I go hungry, I should not go hungry in a community that sees me as a part of them, right? To look at a very African-centered perspective. And when we have those conversations and we learn those type of those valuable lessons from the past, we will bring those into the future, like my colleague, Brother Williams said.
Thank you so much. And Chris, are you with us? Great. I want to come to you with this next question as a current student about the challenges that you currently see around you. Some that you hear your peers probably feel, but aren't open to addressing. Can you share with us what those challenges may be and what you think as a current student might be the reason why they're not being openly addressed?
Um, I would say the challenges right now is community. Since my generation is so focused on social media, Instagram, and like technology, period, we're missing the key connect which brings HBCUs together, which is the community, the friendships, the struggle. Though you can just walk around, say, hey, how'd you doing? Where you what event you going to? And stuff like that. I feel like we're missing like that key component, and like why it's so hard is because now we're so focused on not only our devices, but we're now more antisocial in a way, and we can't do nothing without social media, and we hide behind our screens.
And for you, Andreas, as an alumni, maybe if you cast your mind, if you cast your mind back to the last 10,
Now I see
20
that.
years. Can you hear me, Andre?
Andre, can you hear
I'm sorry,
okay?
one more time. It was kind of breaking up. You were saying?
Can you hear me? Can anybody
Uh,
hear me?
did you want me to answer the same question?
Yes, someone,
It,
if
a
you
little
will,
bit.
please.
Did you want me to
Yes.
answer the same question?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, yes. From from an alumni perspective, especially one that uh, ended up creating a passion and avenue, and also essentially, a nonprofit out of.
I think he may have frozen quick.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. But another question came in while we're waiting for Dre to get back on, and a follow-up question for Chris. I think he's still with us. Now that you've advised many of us on here who are alum that there's an issue with the lack of community, and this is also a question for Dr. Simmons. What types of solutions do you think that we should be for Dr. Simmons? What types of
The things
solutions?
that you're seeing currently with the students. By the way, can you hear me? Am I breaking up? You guys? Everybody can hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear
we can
you
hear
now.
you.
Yeah,
Start
brother.
over, Dre. We couldn't hear you. Blinked out.
No worries. I thought so. Let's try this again, shall we? Now, to the challenges that I'm seeing in today's communities, the same way I'm seeing it on the HBCU level, I'm also seeing it in the communities. And it's kind of hard to build the HBCUs if you're already seeing the dangers of K through 12, where you have various areas that are, schools are closing, etc. So for okay, now that we're back, what I'm what I would suggest, at least to get those challenges, to the forefront to even openly address them, can't we can't expect the youth to be transparent with us if we're not transparent with them about why education is important, why the K through 12, the survival into higher education, why HBCUs are important, why Black academia is important, especially if you have kids that feel, in this day of AI generated answers and Google searches, you don't have to worry about nearly being as intelligent, or you could just, I got the answer right here, as opposed to knowing what it takes to have the basics of critical thinking, of research, and the other skill sets that come along with that. So as much as we can, embrace the forefront of technology, if it's one thing that we've learned from our preceding roots all the way back to the Institute of Colored Youth days, is there are certain steps you can't skip. You have to, kind of teach the old as well as the new in order for them to have the well-rounded approach that they need to bring this to the forefront. Because otherwise, if you just focus on the new bells and whistles, then you're missing out on the skill sets that it takes to become the masterminds and the inventors that create the next bell and whistle. So if we want to really transmogrify the community, we need to remember that we are building leaders, future business owners, not necessarily future workforce. So the more we can inspire the next generation to understand their self-worth enough to know that, hey, you don't have to just be you know insert such and such worker at Walmart when you have enough skills and mindset to make your own industry. The more the community pours into each other and rebuilds that, I think we'll be able to see a lot of solutions in real time. But in order to, do that, we have to openly address it. We have to, go where the kids are. We have to talk to them. We can't just talk to them through the tablet. Sometimes we have to. I'm sorry if I was in and out, but hopefully, did that answer your question?
And we absolutely got all of that time, Dre. You blinked out at the last minute, but we got that. Yeah, we have to acknowledge that there is in fact an issue, as opposed to keep doing what we do sometimes, which is keeping things in house in an attempt to address it in a silo, which it hasn't worked. Let's just put it that way. It just hasn't worked. So I completely agree with that. There another question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh no, not that one.
That one?
No, it was Linda's question.
I think it was the same one. Okay, yeah, same. Okay, so we got both. Dr. Simmons, did you want to address that in terms of from a faculty standpoint of exactly?
I'm going to say really quickly. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
That there needs to be a continued effort of collaboration between faculty, students, administration, and alumni, right? Because if we want to go, quick, we go by ourselves, but if we want to go far, we go together, right? The African proverb in which we have to be able to connect with each other and have discussions that are probably uncomfortable, that will be uncomfortable. To talk about how we can move together as one, as an institution, like Cheney primarily, like we're looking at Cheney primarily, but also we got to look at it from an HBCU platform too, right? That we got to move together as one, as a community. We got to have these conversations, not just at Cheney and Lincoln, but also cross collaboratively, right? In order to share resources together, right? In order to have conversations and strategies together that are regional specific and as well as nationwide, that's nationwide, but also globally, right? And those are both short-term strategies, but also long-term strategies, right? So that means that we have to be not necessarily agree on everything, but we at least have to be able to come together and have a basis of agreement about how we'll move around, how we will tackle policy, how will we address changing administrations as we continue to go on, because those are not just how they'll impact us as far as the institution, but how will it impact HBCUs at large, right? And I'm not trying to go into this conversation when I teach political science about there is a difference about how we address democratically led administrations than we do Republican led administrations, right? How we got to go back in hiding, or how we have to strategize more intently with these various different ways in which we engage with the system in America, right? But those are the short-term strategies. How we collectively come together. Can we have town hall meetings more often than not? Can we have both formal and informal family reunions, right? Cookouts, right? Those are also important to institutional building, because yes, we can debate these things on a formalized level, but we also have to be able to have a chance to breathe, to reassess, to let me see what your position is, right? That's why I think this, even in this resolution policy debate, we're going to have these conversations in which maybe something that maybe will work at like a Lincoln or a Morehouse, a Spelman, A&T, Jackson State, or Tougaloo, or Texas Southern may not work in those other places, but we can at least share those resources, share those thoughts, share how we got it over in Pennsylvania and how you can get over in Mississippi, right? Those are the ways that we can come together, I feel, right, on a macro level. And on a micro level, just have those conversations on a frequent basis, right? Check in, check out, have have a town hall, and also have those conversations in a less formalized setting where we can make those deals and those conversations more concrete.
Oh, you said a lot. You said a mouthful right there, Dr. Simmons. Let me tell you how, just in the effort of putting together this policy resolution debate, we have began to talk about those things because even though we did not get responses from all 10 of the institutions that were established before 1865. We did talk to a lot of people who were very excited. They were thrilled and grateful to be to even be a part of something like this, to be included. Because sometimes, like I live in the South now in Atlanta, and people I say, well, so where'd you graduate from? And I'd say Cheney University of Pennsylvania, and they'd say, who? And I'd say, what do you mean who? You don't know? So there's still so much that we need to do. But to your point, connecting HBCUs, policy, how all this is important, this was exactly why FHAN came up with this particular event, and exactly why we are going to continue to remain vigilant and continue these events regardless. We were so thrilled that you all were here because you worked so hard in a short period of time and you did a phenomenal job. But we are doing this, to your point, Dr. Simmons, so that we can empower our young people, so they know when something happens on campus, who they can comfortably call, as alum, as faculty, who they can call, who will stand in the gap for them, where they won't feel like they are going to be threatened, with grades or money, financial aid, scholarships. We want to make sure that we are keeping those gates, comfortable for our students, especially, but also for our faculty, because you all have a huge stake in what we have going on and how we also can navigate a lot of these systems that are in place. But the first thing we have to do is make sure that our young people and our alum are aware of it, aware of the governance policy. We are not semi-private like Lincoln University of Pennsylvania. We are state-owned. We do not own Cheney's land. We are state-owned and operated. Our governance structure is very different. The Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education is who does everything for us. Our money, our governance, who chooses our leadership, very important. But if our students don't have that background, that history, it's going to ultimately be even more so difficult for them to advocate for themselves. And that's exactly why we're having this. And even though we had a few technical issues this time, I am so delighted. And I'm sure I've gotten text messages from people saying that they thought that this was such a great event to begin, to initiate, and to centralize at Cheney and by students, So we are thrilled that you're here. You put so much work and time into it. We have one more question from the audience, if you don't mind. Oh, two more questions. And again, even the folks who are not here and the teams who did not make it, we anticipate doing this again. If you are interested in being a part of the committee who worked super hard to put this together, or even a sponsor, we would absolutely welcome that, because we're going to start planning as soon as we have concluded. And perhaps next year, as opposed to us being separate, we can be on campus, or we can make sure that we are together in a space where we can dialogue and feel comfortable talking about things that might not be so comfortable. I'm going to put this next question up here. I'm elated. This has just been a long time coming. So how do we, this is from Linda Boston, one of our supporters, how do we encourage youth coming out of high school to attend an HBCU as opposed to a predominantly white institution, or to some quick money, from a scholarship? How can we, what do you encourage? What do you think that we should encourage the youth, and where does the university play a role in that? I'll add that as well.
Christian, you want to go? Go first, Christian.
Oh, I guess that is a loaded question. I guess I would have to say is how to encourage youth is to talk to them in the early stage, like 2 years before they come out of high school, when they're seniors, and when they're coming in. You have to guide them that certain things are okay. You can do this. This is what you can do. This is what it could be socially right in college, because now that you're a grown adult, there's certain things you can't do, can't say, and there are certain things that you have to hold yourself to, like a standard. And which is person walk? Oh, what shifts a young person walking into a room knowing? I can only speak from personal experience, like how I was raised by my uncle and my mother and my aunts and my family. I was told that when you walk into a room, don't expect to leave the same way you came in. You just, it's the same. You can't that a man can't walk into the same room and walk out the same person. So you just have to make mistakes and be human. You can't be perfect all the time. You just have to be able to allow yourself to grow each and every day and every second of the day. Anybody else want to jump in before I start the rant?
I'll jump in on that to touch off that as well. As my father used to tell me, to learn is to grow is to live. And that's the beauty of the HBCU experience in a nutshell. That's part of the reason why I don't know if you guys can see the old tree back there, but when it comes to the co-ed siblinghood, we model ourselves after the Methuselah tree, one of the oldest living organisms on the planet. And the reason so is because longevity is the key. You don't get longevity without growth. You don't get growth without learning. You can't you can't sustain a crop if you don't know how to grow it. And that's the beauty of the agricultural roots as well as the teaching roots of the Institute of Colored Youth and how it permeates through HBCUs and academia to begin with. In order for that student to understand that they belong here, they have to know why here is the place they belong to begin with. And that's the beauty of coming home. And with all HBCUs, that's that feeling that you get when you start to meet the faculty, everybody down to the staff. You will always find that one that will gravitate towards you and kind of pick you out of the crowd. You always, when you have that ecosystem set up between alumni, between prominent staff and administration, that show the students that, hey, yes, we don't know what you went through in your K through 12 experience, but now that you are here, we want you to belong here. Because a lot of us have had the age old, HBCU speech when we get in our freshman year. Look to the left of you, look to the right of you. Some of you ain't going to make it. But the devil in the details of that particular speech that a lot of us tend to validate about the Black experience is just because you look to the left or you look to the right or even you look forward and find yourself not there doesn't mean that when you were on those hallowed grounds, when you were back home, you look to your left and you belong there with a peer to your left. You look to your right and you belong there with a peer to your right. And the more you reestablish that amongst the HBCU culture, I think the less deterred the students will be and the more they'll feel home enough to say, I truly belong here.
And I'm not gonna hold you, brother. Like even I know we're talking and we're having this conversation, but number one, I come from a HBCU family, right? Most of my family went to Jackson State, Alcorn, right? I was like, I want to go to Tulu, right? But I already had in my head that I was going to an HBCU, right? I knew that my initial grinding was to be within my culture, within my people, to be around multifaceted Black folks, right? And so going to Tulu and then now teaching at Cheney, and I've taught at Morehouse, and I teach at Morehouse now, and I taught at Howard, right? What the beautiful thing about an HBCU experience is that we all recognize it, right? Whether we go from Cheney to Tougaloo to Morehouse, we know what it is to have the HBCU experience, right? We've had that ritual when we go in. We know what it means to go through financial aid and not get all your money right off the bat. I have that long tail line, but we know how it is to have that family away from home, right? To have that history, that shared struggle, that shared collective experience and identity of being at a place that was most of the time, depending on where you go to, was generated with the eyes of whiteness, had that white gaze, Jaze. But then when Black folks centralized themselves and took ownership and took control, then the curriculum and the focus and the strategizing of Blackness exploded, right? And so, yes, going back to this conversation about being collectively together and driven and move collectively as one in multiple ways, right? Is a conversation not just couched in Blackness, but also we have this conversation about maroonage, right? In the sense of being able to escape, to go back, to return sankophically to our cultural norms. Like the way that we speak and teach at HBCUs are uniquely communal and African in nature, right? It is couched in our culture, right? No matter how many people come in and out, and we're trained in these Ivy League institutions or PWIs, right? When we get back to ourselves and we get back to these HBCUs, we know it's home, right? Even you had in the last couple of years, you've had a massive exodus of people of African descent returning back to HBCUs, but because they may not have the same money or flush with money as Penn State or UPenn, but the comfortability we've had, the comfortability of being back home allows for a communal and a collective ways of knowing that is not replicated at PWIs. They can't, right? They cannot be communal because that's not their worldview, right? I hate to say it like that. But we know whether we go to these different institutions, and yes, we've been impacted by classism and other type of isms and other types of ways, but it still is African in nature. In a way that, like, for example, Christian came back home, he would return home to Cheney, is the same way that I, when I got on Tougaloo's campus, the same way that Brother Williams did when he got on Cheney's campus, right? I see so many videos in the past, I'm like, yo, like, the experience is so similar. It's scary, right? Like, it is so beautiful and so scary that way that we move together, and that's one reason why they try to hinder us. Whenever you look at all of our histories, we've always been trying to be impeded in our progression in centering Blackness and centering humanity, right? And just knowing that, just telling our students, come back home, right? We got you, right? And if Christian wanted to go to an HBCU for grad school, or even if he's down in Atlanta or in Texas or whatever, knowing that I have connections down there some type of ways, he'll be okay, right? Or I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, right? To make sure that the family is still together. It's still an HBCU Black experience. And I think that's the most beautiful thing of all. You will always have family no matter where you go. Right? I don't care how much we talk ish about each other. Whereas Cheney versus Lincoln, Rush College versus Tougaloo, Jackson State versus Alcorn. We know that if at the end of the day, we all that we have, and we got each other's back no matter what may transpire come our way. And I think that's the beautiful thing about HBCUs, where we teach our kids, is that there's a legacy there, right? That we can leverage in order to maintain ourselves and also think about liberation and resistance. That's where you find that out at. They're not going to teach you the things that we teach you at a HBCU, at a PWI. You may have it in a class or two, but the whole experience, if it's holistic, if it's human, will be there in every classroom. And that's why I think it's a beautiful thing about an HBCU. That's how we can leverage that to make them come home. You want to make sure that you can get some food, not just intellectually, not with your hands, but also with the connectivity that we have across the nation, across the globe. Come on, be with us. It's cool. We got you. That's how I look at it.
I love that. I look at it that way too. I love that. You all really touched on several questions, which was good because you ended up hitting some questions. And I know we had some conversations around these things, and I want to get into equity. We talk about equality. Let's talk about or share your thoughts on how we can create maybe, because I guess it depends which HBCU you've actually attended, you would know whether equity actually existed or not. But what are your thoughts around equity, creating, sustaining equity within HBCU culture? Wait, you're muted. We don't want to miss this now.
My fault. I will argue that within the African worldview and within HBCU historical context, equity in terms of like how we treat people, how we humanize folks is already there. It's built within the culture, right? So you've had individuals who are of European descent, of Asian descent, of any other, if they're not African American or Afro-Caribbean, when they come to HBCUs, they find themselves, they're not ostracized for being who they are, right? They are celebrated for who they are, and they're couched within the context of communalism, right? Within the Black and African experience, right? And also they're encouraged to find themselves, right? They may get an education that is geared and pull from an African-centered perspective or a Black-centric perspective. We're talking about how we navigate in this Eurocentric society. But at the end of the day, we don't encourage one or the other. What we encourage is that you find yourself and count yourself within the experience and the lived experience of yourself and also of African people, right? So even in that sense, we don't have a hierarchical conversation in terms of like, you must be this in order to be here. No, you can just be yourself, right? And you can, and you will be welcome to this community with open arms, and you can find yourself and be yourself in the context of community. Right. I think that's the number one as far as like being able to be yourself in relation to community isn't as in the HBCU and also an African-centered perspective and thing. But number two, again, not just those contexts of like we're also in an activist tradition, we're making connections with other communities that are not quote unquote come from the Black experience. So like for example, brother Williams and I, we talked earlier in the sense of when white folks, when they come here and they be band directors, and they also in the band or in the basketball or they in Greek life, right? They're not ostracized for their identity, right? They're welcome for it. And they connect they connect their struggle to the global and also the national struggle of being oppressed and marginalized in America, right? So fighting for the progression of your fellow man and woman is an inherent HBCU experience, and when we teach you the HBCU experience, so that way we humanize the struggle collectively on a global level, right? So I mean, I don't want to get us in trouble, but we have struggles across the globe that are connected to the Black experience. Right, that MLK was a Morehouse grad that talks about in the sense of before he was assassinated. That Malcolm X talks about in the sense of class, right? That Fannie Lou Hamer talks about, right? That all these individuals that either got on Toulouse campus or Chinese campus or any HBCU campus, and they came back and was like, "This is how we can connect to other folks." So even for one, our experience is equitable, right? We're not a hierarchical people. But also we connect our learning and our activism and our beings back to ourselves, right? And that helps us talk about policy. That helps us talk about media exposure. That helps us talk about being able to garner money. So if we have to fight as HBCUs for money, then what we should do is be okay. How can we collectively do this together? Right. If we do the HBCU thing that Southern University has couched and try to promote and be on top of that with them, that's a thing. But also we have our own initiative in terms of Africana studies that we're trying to put together at Cheney. Right, that puts that on a electronic or a certificate type conversation, right? And do that with Lincoln. That's right down the street, right? We can do that with other HBCUs that are in the area, right? We could have a symposium or colloquium that talks about how we can support Black students and other students that come to our campuses in order to prepare them for tomorrow, not just to teach, but to also to activate, to be better human beings. That's the reason why we have institutions, especially from the Black perspective, to make humanity a better place. Right, so to be equitable is already within our consciousness in our teaching. Right, we just have to make sure that we continue to push back, to struggle, no matter what administration's in office, no matter what pushback we have in our histories, right? Because we always have struggle, right? And we've always persevered, right? And that perseverance, no matter what we had and did not have, made us uniquely positioned to be able to do what we do, right? So I'll keep it right there. I'll be quiet.
Woo, woo. You said a mouthful. Yes, people are clapping and now I know that Andre definitely wants to be a part of this conversation because we talk equity all day. Okay, Dre, you're here. I know you wanted to speak on this. Can you unmute? Nope, we can't hear you. Can you guys hear Dre? No, you probably have to go out and come back in.
Hold on, let's try that again.
Oh, there you are. You're there. I'm muting. Go ahead.
Here we go. Okay, so in terms of equity, and it's funny because when we talk equity, there's a saying that my mom laughs at me for saying, and I won't say it in an unprofessional way, but basically, sometimes it's about the worth. And when we speak on equity, a lot of times when we're looking at it, especially under, societal structures that we're under, for instance, capitalism, equity to one man might look like greed to another. So when we're speaking on the equitable experience in terms of HBCUs, in terms of the history of HBCUs, I feel like often we have to kind of, remind ourselves that it's not always getting the highest dollar. It's also how you maximize what you have. And so being able to build equity amongst our collective, whether we're talking through finances or whether we're talking through social equity, whether we're talking through commerce, time, effort, energy, there are a lot of ways you can pay the cost to be the boss, so to speak. So when we're speaking on this equitable debate, even, as my colleague Dr. Simmons was saying, being able to set up through the networks of HBCUs a proper and viable network, proper symposiums, proper exchange of ideas to, really start to reinvigorate and rebolster the Black educational experience in a way to where we don't have to allow ourselves to fall to those that may, rule or govern in the sense of throwing money at the problem or being your financial, reliance. And they're, if they're looking at it from a term of equity being simply how much you make, how much your university makes, for instance, right? That's a bit of a problem because you could give the best branding in the world from the HBCU experience, right? But if the people that govern said HBCU, especially in terms of like certain public and certain private institutions, everyone has state laws that they have to be governed by. So if the state is looking at it like, yes, you're doing well, but you're not doing enough, then we as a collective have to find better ways to show our equity. And it shouldn't always be relegated to the congressional budget, if you will. So the more we can show a mixture of both, because throughout the Black experience, we've shown that not only can we be cost effective, not only can we be affordable, but we can also be profitable. If we can show that to those who tend to focus more on a capitalistic viewpoint, while also showing those who may not see the other sides of the equity, the social equity, the time equity, the sweat equity, if you will, that these communities are putting together amongst the collective of HBCUs, then we're also missing a key element of that because spend it. Did I
Beautifully
lose you?
said.
You
Nope,
still
nope,
there?
we got you. We got all of that. We got all of that. Uh, Okay, I'm just making sure I got everything. Nope, that was this. This was the last question, and hopefully our judges are finished deliberating. We're going to put the score Mentimeter up so that the audience members have an opportunity to also score. Because again, just based on what happened with the other teams, we are not discounting your super hard work. We are so proud of what you've done, and we are so looking forward to, Chris. This will eventually be your baby, perhaps. You can be the person that makes this our flagship Cheney event because it's come together so well. I'm so grateful to have met you. I'm going to put this last question up because it was specifically for you, Chris, and then I'll put up our final Mentimeter scoring so the audience will be able to do that, because everything that we're doing today, including your policy resolution, we're going to publish that along with the debate information, because it is imperative, and I'm learning this as a PhD student. It is imperative that we ensure that our history is documented. And when people go and look at stuff about Cheney, and if they're looking it up because maybe they're doing research on HBCUs like I'm doing for my candidacy, they have places to go with accurate information that has references and whatnot. And not that it's always about, almost losing accreditation or something like that, but it's the real meat and potatoes of it all, which is exactly what we're doing today, reconnecting our stakeholders, reconnecting our HBCUs, and getting into the policy part of it, because we know you can't do anything in Pennsylvania without knowing some politics of it all. One of Lincoln University's first presidents, politicians, politicians. So we have to make sure that we are aware of everything. We literally, when we started planning this, we literally looked at all of the counties that Cheney is a part of, and we want to invite everybody. Why? Not because we thought that they actually might show up, but because we are organizing. And we want folks to know that we are organizing our people. So I'm just super excited about everything. I'm going to, Chris, give you the opportunity to answer this question. And while you all are listening attentively to Chris and thinking about everything that Dr. Matthews and Andre and Chris talked about in their resolution, think about that now and go to menti.com, MENTI.com. And then I'm going to put the code up so you too can score them, so you can give them some feedback about what you thought and perhaps even some ideas or suggestions to make it better for the next time. So I'm going to mute Chris and leave you the floor.
All right. It's not that we need to change how we do it. It's more like we need to, what's the proper word? It's more like we need to get them interested. Like I grew up on Cheney, so I grew up seeing it. I grew up seeing it in its purest form. My mother, my aunts and uncles, they showed me how to, I guess, how to walk, how to talk, and just how to interact with people. Period, and seeing how welcoming everyone was when I was a baby, a child coming up here and getting to experiences. Being up here always felt like home to me. So it was never like, oh no, you gotta go. It was just like, oh, you're whose son? And then it's just like, let me give you something to eat. Let me tell you about the history that we got on this campus at CU. It's more on the lines of you need to get not only high schools involved, but people period. They need to get involved, because the more people that get involved, the more reach we have as a whole in the community. Because the bigger the community, the less you see of violence between kids and young adults, period. And it is, I would have to say, being at HBCU is both is a blessing and such an honor and achievement. Even if you don't finish, it's just you step into a whole new world that you never even thought about. Even if you have thought about it before, it's more along the lines of that you don't walk out of the campus if you leave that year or you transfer somewhere else. That it always comes a piece of you. So to really answer the question, more you need to find ways to reach out to people in different aspects of this modern age. I hope that answered the question. I don't want to rant. So
you absolutely answered that question. I have people over here in my ear saying yes. Yeah, I feel like I'm at church. They're like yes. I absolutely love that. But I feel like, because you're a legacy baby, as we call them. You're not a baby, but you're a legacy. So
yeah.
that is super important. And even though, for instance, our daughter Jordan is not a legacy. She did not go to college, but she grew up on Cheney's campus, and she knows the alma mater, besides, the Black National Anthem, because that's something that we taught in our childcare down the street at the AME church at Cheney. There's so many things that our students have no idea that we had access to. And a lot of us are really tired of hearing, folks say, well, it's not the 1980s, or it's not the 1990s or the 2000s. That's a fact. But as an institution of higher education, we should be much further along, a lot of us believe, than we are. It's not that we're reflecting only on the history, but we have to, because that's all we have to compare it to. And I love that you were taught by way of your mom, rest in peace, you were taught the amazing Cheney, right? You were taught that's what we taught our daughter. That's why she knows the alma mater. She can walk around that campus. She knows the buildings. Even some of my students, my former students, they used to babysit our daughter. They know her from childhood, changing her pampers. That's the community part of it, though, that we absolutely have to get back to. You know, that intellectual powerhouse of an institution that educated and graduated every teacher in the tri-state area, every principal, every superintendent. We educated all of them, you know, so that is really important. And I would love to know, you touched, Chris, you spoke so eloquently, and I saw your uncle smile. You even you know, not necessarily having graduated, but you talked about looking at some of our matriculates. You know, that is massively important, because I believe, and we probably could do a study about it, that we may have more matriculates than graduates.
Yeah, it's oh, that's another question. But my mother used to say it's not about the mistakes you make, it's about how they change you as a person, like how you move forward. You can make 1,001 mistakes or a million mistakes, but that doesn't change who you are at your core. As long as you keep who you are at your core, no one can tell you anything. No one can call you a liar. No one can say, "Oh no, you're weak minded," or you lack ambition. As long as you know and hold your values to your core, you can walk through any door. You can walk on any campus. You can go anywhere and say, "I want this," get it. But young, it's not about the quick dollar influence. It's just that some influencers don't properly market like what they need to. They don't like be as impactful as they should be. If I could, I would become an influencer for Cheney and just like the day life of a legacy. It's just like, okay, this is what an actual community at an actual HBCU. It don't matter the time period, if you're in the 19s or 2000s or now. CU is still CU. It's just in each era, it's a different format with different communities that had different rules.
Great answer. That last thing wasn't a question, it was a response. Talking about how, you know, young folks, you know, the influencer. I would argue that, Chris, you don't need to be an influencer. We need you to be an ambassador. It's a difference, I think. There's a difference, right? Okay, an ambassador is very different from an influencer. We don't need influence. We need people who advocate on behalf of our youth.
No, but see that's the thing. There's not a real distinction between the two, because to be an ambassador you have to also reach out, but to be the main core of an influencer is to reach out to different communities through social media. So technically they go hand in hand, just different sides.
Okay, well, how about we can certainly agree to disagree. That's what we do in here, right? So no problem at all. Dre, before we start deliberating and getting our scores, did you want to touch on anything? I'd like to give all three of you your final responses before we show the score. Teach, Chris. She said teach. Somebody said teach, Chris. Like, I guess you were teaching me. I'll take it. I've learned a lot from my students, so I'm all good. But I absolutely appreciate that you all were here. I want to give you an opportunity before we move to the scoring part to allow you to give your last words.
In short, one of the best ways to find out the blueprint for the future is to simply look at the deeply rooted principles of the Black past. If you look at the Institute of Colored Youth, at its face value, you see a story born of hardship, of Black struggle turning into Black triumph, which then eventually becomes Black longevity. So oftentimes when we see an idea that has preserved as long as it has, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be flourishing as much as it should, sometimes we need to be reminiscent of the fact that it's lasted this long for a reason. So the more that we can continue to pour into the traditions of the future by remembering the traditions of the past, and by remembering that the HBCU The legacy of the HBCU is one that teaches you how to become a better man, a better woman, a better son, a better daughter, a better brother, a better sister, a better friend, and most importantly, a better human being. And the more we can showcase that to the world, it doesn't matter what generation, what economy, what political system you're under, you will find a way to come back home. And it's time for us to set that blueprint and make that the standard for all HBCUs nationwide.
Opening it up to Dr. Simmons, and let's have our esteemed freshman go last. See, last but not least.
I just concur with all my teammates say. Right, is that we have a legacy that we're connected to the past. Right, we're not ourselves. Cheney is not the Cheney of today without being a Cheney of yesteryears. Right, it's connected, and knowing that if one of us fall, right, we're all impacted. Right, that's also a thing we have to look at too, in the sense that uh, Cheney, and we know the history of Cheney, it's been under attack ever since the inception of it being created, right? And we're all under attack as far as HBCUs are concerned. So if we just stay together and we are connected to each other, we will be all right in terms of the short term, but we can also build a legacy of activism for our people going forward.
I guess the last things I would say is I learned this from one of my favorite movies. The whole point of a good game is to lose track of time, get lost in the fun of things. So I guess I will end it with saying this. Being an HBCU is not about what you walk away with little diploma. Everybody's goal is to walk away with a diploma, higher level education, but I feel like what's really important is the relationships in communities that the relationship in the community that you build with both people on your HBCU and other HBCUs along the way. Because I think people are the greatest treasure imaginable. Because the more people you know, the better. Because you never know later on the line, they may run into other people. You say, "Oh, you know this person," but it's just great. But this has been one of the greatest things I've done all year. Like this is something else, and I want to thank everybody for that.
I really appreciate that. You know the plan. Yeah, and Andre and we discussed this a little bit last week. The plan is for FHAN, the first HBCU Action Network, nonprofit alum based independent organization. But we would love the pleasure of following you through your 4 years and supporting you, Chris, financially and otherwise, to make sure that first of all, you're going to help us with data collection. Okay, you're going to help us recognize exactly what's happening across the entire scope of a student's tenure. These are things that I'm sure we're calculating them, but we would like to calculate it in real time. And this is something that we're doing already as a part of our business plan. But if you would be willing to accept that support, we absolutely want to give that to you. So we want to stay in touch. We want you to be comfortable disagreeing, because I know that sometimes there is a stereotype that if you're under a certain age and the other person's over a certain age, then they know more what they're talking about because they've been here longer. And we know that that's not
true.
Okay, so we want you. We know that confidence is something that you need to have to be able to be disagreeable, or to confront without being confrontational. So we definitely want to do that, and we're very excited to support you and just see you. I want to come back and come to your graduation next time is the goal. So thank you very much for your hard work. We're going to get over. We got the code in there. Okay, if you are in our audience, you can absolutely vote and provide some feedback. This is going to definitely be published as well, so the documentation and the transcript will be available. We're very excited. If you go to menti.com, that's MENTI.com. Don't have to download stuff, just go there. And as you can see the code on your screen, tech person just put it on. I'm saying it. She's like, girl, just put it on the screen, girl. What are you doing? So it's on the screen. The code is 873-2906. I'm sorry, 873-29026. I'll say that again. 8732-9026. That's how you break it up, right? That's the best way to do it. Okay. So if you have not voted yet, please do so. And I want to take a moment again to mention the scavenger hunt, which will be running until midnight. The next clue will be in there before midnight. So if you have not had an opportunity to register and play, please do so now. We have some amazing prizes. Tiara, could you tell me what the prizes are so I can... Two Top Golf tickets. A concert of your choice. A sports event. Not all of these things. You can choose one. Okay. I had to roll that back for a minute. Okay. Go ahead. Finish, Tiara. What else? Sports event of your choice. No, not of your choice. That's not of your choice. The answer. Look, my husband's like, no, not of your choice. You can't go to the Eagles game. HBCU merch of your choice, and you just said we have a form where you'll just have to choose what you'd like to reserve your gift as. Anything else? A children's book bundle. So if you're someone who has children or knows, what else? Oh, there's also 2 tickets from DLOE, that's the Distinguished Ladies of Excellence, which our board member Sharon Crawford Ellis is a part of, and she's also provided a prize of 2, and this is for the older people, hopefully there's nobody under 18 in the audience, 2 virtual paint and sips, and it comes with that they are going to send you the paint, the canvas, a schmuck, I believe was also on there, Sharon. Yeah, so it's a beautiful bundle. And what else? The founder of Infinite Perspectives is donating a new book, The Becoming. The founder of Infinite Perspectives is donating a new book called Becoming, The Becoming. And we also are going to have some folks on the show. So we definitely are going to double back later, and let's see where we are with this scoring. We have one response. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to keep that open as well. But do we have this score from the judges? Yes, but I can't pull it up at the same time because this is full screen. That's okay. Just tell me what it is. I can't see it because it was still active. Oh, okay. Come out of full screen. That's fine. This is my part-time assistant, Tiara, who I'm so grateful for. I'm not sure I would have been able to get through this without her. She is amazing. Yeah, she is definitely. And I'm very much appreciative. Let me do all the shout outs while y'all judging. I'm very much appreciative of my husband, Jermaine Simone, who has been magnificent always, every event. He's running around. He just came from getting our guests some food. So I'm so excited to eat something after we are finished. And I am so grateful for Infinite Perspectives, who is Linda Boston, and Michelle the Voice is here. They're in my house right now, as well as Tiara. We said, listen, I don't want us to be separate. Here she is. That's Michelle. Beautiful. I didn't want to, Chris said hi. We didn't think it was better to be separate. We thought it was a good idea. We're in Atlanta to come here, and it gave us so much more support of each other. So we're definitely thankful for both Linda and Michelle. And we are thankful for one of our debate sponsors, who is the prize sponsor, and that is Black, Brown, and HBCU Bound, who will, for all of your hard work, be providing you with a cash prize of $1,000. Yeah, Krista said, okay, I'll take that. Yvonne Daniels, thank you so much. I'm going to pull her up to the screen real quick. just to say hi. That's Yvonne. So you'll thank her later, okay? Thank you. And here's Sharon. Sharon, say hi. Thank you. Sharon donated a gift as well. We're so grateful for her. Thank you so much. Linda or Michelle, did you want to pop on? Okay, so grateful for all that you've done. I'm looking at the Mentimeter scoring, and it looks like, okay, from our judges, and I'll forward this to you all as well. Okay, great.
By each section. So
Okay.
Policy proposal, they got a 9 and a 10.
So it was by section. The policy proposal, you got 9s and 10s. The implications, you got 8s and 10s. And you guys just did phenomenal. Everything else was 9s and 10s. Yeah. Look, Chris is like, yes, we did it. So excited. Oh, my apologies for the closing statement, which I totally agree with that. The closing statement, you got all 10s. Yes. All 10s. Because the closing and the wrap up and the discussion after it was priceless. Chris did that. Yeah, they said you did that, and Dr. Simmons as well. Came in with that beautiful equity. Yes. You all pulled it together so nicely. I was trying to wait for Dre to get back on here before we let everybody go. Is he still in the audience? He just
he's right. He's loading in now.
Okay, he's coming in. We are so great. We are so excited to do this again. I am so grateful that my HBCU was here to represent. We're going to eventually take these policies right to Harrisburg where they belong so we can help. Right, exactly. So we are very, very grateful. I'm not sure if Dre is going to get back in, but we do appreciate him so much. I love talking to Dre. I love communicating with all of you. And we have some folks from Lincoln who were very adamant. I talked to Raquel the other day, and she said, we are definitely going to get together because they too are experiencing and addressing issues that we may not presume that they are. Even here in Atlanta, all the prestigious schools are maybe doing well, but there's a lot of face value to be taken from it. We have a lot of work to do, and I'll leave it there, which we need to do together in a safe space so that we're comfortable. So, we're not feeling threatened by speaking our truth and advocating for our HBCU. I am so grateful to see these folks in the building. I've seen your comments. I see the Swans and Sylvia Garner and Charlene Edwards and J5. Robert Jackson's here. Dr. Karen Thomas, love you. Tanae, thank you so much. Sharon, Cynthia Baxter, love you to death. And Yvonne, and of course, Dre, Chris, and Dr. Simmons. You all were phenomenal. I'm going to give you a call afterwards if I can, just to brief out. But have a phenomenal day on purpose, everyone that was here. Oh, we have one more thing to interject.
Yes.
Chris, Dr. Simmons,
and
Andre
are officially invited to do
a response, feedback.
Not a response. We like to do an interview, individual or group interview on infinite perspectives. Their choice. They could come individually or as a group.
You're being beckoned for an interview. You're famous now. That's what it is. It's okay. It's all good. So, Dre, I'm glad you're here. Good look.
He's already famous.
He's clutching his pearls. It's crazy.
He ready.
They're ready. Dre, the only thing that you missed while we were closing out, we thanked all of our sponsors. We talked about getting on immediately afterwards. We did go ahead and announce that the sponsored prize of $1,000 will be in your inbox or your Cash App or however you want it soon. 3 ways, split it, not 1,000 each. Let me get that right for the record. But the plan definitely is to move this forward in ways that, will become the next Honda Campus All-Stars Challenge. How about that? Yeah. So we'll see how it works out. But thanks everyone for coming. It's been phenomenal. You all have a wonderful day on purpose. Thanks again. And thanks for coming to the 2026 Legacy to Leverage HBCU Policy Resolution Debate. Bye, everyone.
You're supposed to clap that tea.
You're having too much fun.
We have to.